Hello. What is lurking beneath your surface? Take this apple, for instance. Doesn't that just look like a great apple? It's nice and shiny. It's red. Now, if I were to bite into this, it would probably be a perfectly good apple, crisp and refreshing. Or what about the squash? This is like an awesome looking squash. It's got a nice dry stem on it. It should be a very good squash inside. But you know what? I think maybe just last week we had a squash like this. We cut it open. I should say Dale cut it open. And inside, is always the seeds. And I'll tell you, those seeds were slimy. They had a terrible odor to them. Yeah. It's like this thing is like on the verge of spoiling. But you know what? You could never tell that from the outside. On the surface, it looked perfect. So people can sometimes be the same way. On the surface, they look like nothing's wrong with them. But just like with this squash, if we would have left it, after a while, that fermentation would have eventually reached the surface, or would have reached the surface area, and we would have seen spots, some evidence of something wrong inside. Am I right? So, it would have been a black spot, some moldiness, something. We would have seen something. And it's the same way with people. When things aren't right inside, eventually things work their way up to the surface. This could be in the form of headaches, muscle joint discomfort, mood disorder, mood fluctuations, behavioral issues. It could be digestive issues, skin issues. And as time goes on, these can turn into autoimmune disorders. So, what is beneath the surface? What is lurking beneath the surface of these issues? Your gut. If your gut microbiome is not balanced, it's just like really out of whack, eventually it's going to surface and you are going to see evidence of that. Now, what you do with that evidence, with those manifestations, will be a key as to how things progress from there, because literally your gut is connected to every part of your body all the way up to here, to your brain, in some way, shape, or form. It affects every system in your body. So when your gut microbiome is not at its best, you're going to see manifestations of it eventually on the surface. So as an example, I'll just give you an example. Parents of many kids, their youngest one, and very, very well-behaved children, their youngest one was having a hard time listening. She would misbehave, just totally out of character for her. And, like the rest of them, she was totally out of character. So much so that it prompted them to seek out medical advice to see what might be up. And it was determined that gluten was the issue. anytime she would eat gluten, she would misbehave, she would not listen. It's like it was not, she couldn't help herself. It's just how gluten affected her. So clearly, for her, it was more than just a pain in the abdomen or bloating or gas or constipation or diarrhea, which is what a lot of people experience with gluten. But those are not the only manifestations of a gluten issue. Years ago, in the early 80s, I used to work for 2 homeopathic doctors, and they had government funding to work with this specific community of mentally and emotionally people who had of illnesses, mental and emotional illnesses. And one of the first things they would always do is they would implement diet as a major lifestyle change. And they would see huge, huge improvements in these people. Of course, they used their homeopathic remedies along with it, but diet was a really major, major part of their plan. Well, after a while, that government funding was no longer available. And so, unfortunately, then this community had to regress back to their old eating lifestyle habits, which then brought back the old manifestations that they had previously had. So how sad it is something so simple as a diet change could not be continued to help make someone's life so much easier and more enjoyable. So if you or someone you know is having a repeated issue, take a deeper look. It could even be some traumatic or emotional event that has happened in the past that has never been resolved. But take a deeper look at what might be lurking beneath the surface, because you never know. Is it an apple? Or is it the squash? And if you don't know where to start, I can help you get started. Now go slay the day.